gonna try. Oh, there we go. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Sorry, people. This is what I do. You know this. You know this. This is what I do, as that cutie patootie Rhett Miller says. He probably doesn't do this, though. He does not. He's already, I'm sure, I've not touching it. Nope, nope, nope. Oh, Craig, hello. I love how you're so prompt. I love how I can't see. Yeah, I had some music on. I did. I was feeling it. I was. Can you feel it? And since it's just you and me and maybe a few other people, I was listening to the Jacksons. Not the Jackson 5, the Jacksons. It was the newer version. And that's because they have a song called Can You Feel It? And I was feeling it. But also because they are from Gary, Indiana. And I keep on seeing a reflection in my glasses. Sorry. This is quality programming here, people, you know? There we go. How's that? I don't know. Anyhow, welcome, welcome, Retro Roadmappers. Thank you for tuning in to Retro Roadmap Facebook Live. I have forgotten what episode. I think this is 23rd, episode 23. And yeah, thank you so much for showing up. I realize I often talk about my hair, and this is the first time I've seen, yeah, today is the day that my hair has officially fallen, okay? Before, I had done it, and it was doing its thing, whatever, it's kind of doing the spiky thing, and now I'm all 60s mod gal, which is fine. It's fine. I haven't had my hair cut since, what was it? February 10th was the last time I got my hair cut. So the fact that it looks still so good, Phil, my guy Phil, if you were watching, I don't think he is, but I'm telling you, if I didn't want Phil to just be available for me, I would give you all his info because he's the best hair guy ever. So thank you. Hola, Xavier Santagosa. Jack Lightmeyer, how are you? Laura Stevens, nice to see you. Welcome everybody. So yeah, so this is Retro Roadmap Facebook Live. And it's on a Thursday. I feel like it's important, even though there's only a few of us here, but I still feel it's important for me to just give a little background. I felt it was important on Tuesday to take a moment to step back and reflect. I thought it would be disingenuous, if I'm using the word correctly, to kind of pretend like nothing has been happening. Now, the COVID is one thing. We can't do anything about a virus except be safe, right? And do our thing. So that's something we can control. But with some of the things that are going on right now, it would be, racial injustice and, unequal, all sorts of things, that I felt it was really important for me to just chill out so we could all listen and figure out how to move forward in the right direction. I am all about right direction. So I'm not going to get all preachy, except if it's to tell you to go to a diner or something like that. And but I will say this: I feel it's important for me to come clean because I had a bit of a thing back and forth. It was very mild this weekend on Instagram with somebody. So I wanted to give you a clue, right? So picture this: I'm kind of taking you on a tour each week when we do this, right? So I am driving the bus. I always talk about, I have this other thing I'm working on called Just Drive Your Life, where I tell everybody to drive their car. But today, when you're watching, or for Retro Roadmap, I'm the bus driver. It's my bus, and I'm taking you to the places that I feel like, you want to go to, right? And you guys are psyched about it, hopefully, because you're getting on the bus. I'm saying I'm going to diners and, drive-ins and all sorts of cool places, and you say, yeah, I want to go there, so you get on my bus. Well, here's the deal. I also am all about the love, and I'm all about positive interactions, and I do not have time for hate or discrimination or, intolerance. I want everybody to love one another, and if this is something that somebody cannot do, if it's not in you, if you've got the anger and the evil in you, I humbly request, and I know it's nobody right here, I know this, but I not even request, I insist that for the both of us, you get off of my bus. Because when you're on Maud Betty's bus, it's all about doing the good stuff. It's about treating people the way you want to be treated. It's about supporting mom and pop businesses because you feel, you know, it's the right thing to do and it feels good for them and it lights you up. You know, there's not going to be a lot of negativity here. And if you bring the negativity, you will get off the bus, okay? And as I said, I know it's not you guys, but I really feel it's important for people to understand where I'm coming from. It's my choice to come and do this, choice to listen or not. But if you do it, this is not the place for it. All right? Enough said about that. Let's go on. So we are talking about Indiana. Indiana. I got a snow dome from Indiana. There we go. It's got a little bit of a thing on it. I think we've got some, I don't know. It's probably just generic. What's that? Oh, I'm hanging up. I'm hanging up. Well, I'll keep on talking and we'll see what, I can't do anything about it, right?
Hey, you know what? Turn off your Wi-Fi.
Uh-oh. Okay. Hold on. My tech guy is telling me I need to turn off my Wi-Fi. I can't even, I don't even know how to do that from here.
Okay.
Can I just continue, please? Maybe?
You're good.
Am I good? All right, what are you gonna do? You gotta keep on going. That's my motto. You gotta keep on going. You don't have to mind your hair. Though I gotta, since it's just us, I am so excited actually. I have these white hairs coming in right here. Like little, see, you can see it, it's coming through. So excited to get the white hair. Can't wait. I'm so looking forward to like a new do, which this is already. So I am going to, yep, thank you, Michael. I was told I froze for a moment, but this is me, I'm joking, I'm frozen. What? Yeah, I've been in the house a lot. Okay, in any case, we are talking about Indiana. And I had that song, Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana. That was going through my head, but that's all I knew. That's why I was listening to the Jackson 5 earlier, because they are from Gary, Indiana. So yes, the state of Indiana. We have, so cool. This is, I think, the 23rd episode. So we've already done Ohio, right? Last week we did Michigan. Here we've done Kentucky, and then next week we're going to Illinois, but today it's all about Indiana. And I have so many things to share with you, and I want to thank everybody who has given me suggestions on what to cover. I love it when I get recommendations because, you know, I do my research and I you know, can find some things, but the more you dig, you can get stuck in the research mode, which is one of my favorite places. So I have to actively get out of research mode and into sharing mode. So I'm going to tell you about a number of things in Indiana, and the two I'm going to start with are ones that people had recommended to me. So I want to give a shout out. My first shout out is to Terry Coop. So Terry, we met on Route 66 because Terry is an awesome guy himself, and he's the dad of Awesome Austin. God, my Boston accent comes back, huh? Awesome Austin Coop from Tulane America Tours, where I went on Route 66 with him. But Terry, awesome guy that he is, reminded me that in Fairmont, Indiana, there is a place called the Fairmont Historical Museum. And this is a museum that has really cool stuff about two famous people named James who are related to Fairmont, Indiana. Now, I think some of you may know one of them, James Dean. So James Dean wasn't actually born in Fairmont, but they have the world's largest collection of James Dean's personal belongings on loan from the Dean family. So he is the James that will get you to Fairmont, Indiana. They also have a cute little historic district, and it just looks like an adorable little place to go. So go to the museum, but they also have another James. His name is Jim, and you may not recognize his name if I just say it, Jim Davis. Like, that sounds like a guy who works in accounting or something. But no, Jim Davis is the inventor of Garfield, the orange cat. There is also a thing at the Fairmont Historical Museum about Garfield and Jim Davis. So we get James Dean, we get Jim Davis in Fairmont. Kim, yes, I've been everywhere, man. I'm working on it. I am. I love that song. I actually made a map once, cartography-wise, of all the places they mentioned in that song. So that's a good one. And yes, Cliff is my tech guy. Thank God. He's also my water guy. Remember a couple episodes ago I was having like a little coughing fit. It was embarrassing. I asked him to bring me my water glass, and especially this one because I'm wearing this bright pink lipstick and it gets everywhere. Arr! Oh, how lovely to be a woman. In any case, so now I've got, I sometimes say, I kind of sometimes point out on the map where things are, and I don't know if that helps or not. And then it just makes me a bit crazy. So I'm going to start in Indianapolis, Indiana. So there's a pretty neat place here that was the first pin on my map when I started my my Indiana map, and it's the Fountain Square Theater building in Indianapolis. Now this is really neat because it was a place that opened in 1928, and it had entertainment, professional offices, and things like that. Well, nowadays it has been renovated since the 1920s, and it's one of those places that has been like the harkening back to the vintage coolness of another era. So the cool thing is about this, oh God, this is me. I forgot. Okay. Duck pin bowling. I've got my duck pin bowling. I do this all the time. Pause just for a second. Duck pin bowling, right? Small pins. This is a rubber band one, not that one. But, you know, if ever I can talk about duck pin bowling, I'm bringing that thing out. So they have actually 2 bowling alleys in the Fountain Square building. They have one that is the Action Duck Pin Bowling, has 8 lanes of duck pin. And then there's Atomic Bowling in the basement level, which is like 1950s bowling. So how cool is that? That they saw how awesome these old things were at the... and they also have a thing called Friday Night Swing Dance at Fountain Square Theater. There's a place called the Imbibe Lobby Bar and Game Room, and the Fountain View Inn. That's the thing. The building is now the Fountain View Inn that has all these places in it that I just think is so neat. So I would love, maybe you would too, you go to a town you've never been, you stay at a cool, neat little historic hotel. They've got like, you can bowl and you can get a cocktail and you can probably get something to eat. Like, to me, that's where you want to spend your money, you know, someplace really fun like that, and spend your time, because it sounds like a wicked lot of fun. Another place in Indianapolis that is actually right around the corner. It's not too far from there. It is probably stumbling distance, and I say stumbling distance because it's a tiki bar, and Maud Betty is getting to be a bit of a lightweight in her old age. So properly mixed tiki drinks can taste so delicious that you don't realize they also pack a wallop. But the Inferno Room in Indianapolis, Indiana, it's a new place. And then the neat thing is, remember I told you about places that I am getting like recommendations, like from Terry Coop and the next place I'm going to mention. So this place I found out about because, and totally random, we went to a fun event in Arizona last year called Tiki Oasis. It's usually something that happens in California, but this was the first one they did in Arizona. And I met some people, and they were from Indianapolis, and they gave us a coupon for free crab rangoon, which is one of my faves, as you might know. If you're keeping tabs, like if this were Teen Beat, one of Maud Betty's faves would be crab rangoon. And so then I decided to put this place on my map. So it's the Inferno Room in this Fountain Square neighborhood in Indianapolis, and that's also where I got this mug, or I bought this and I brought this with me when we went to Arizona, for fear I was going to not hydrate enough when I was drinking the tiki drinks, and yeah, that happened. So in any case, one other place I want to mention before we move out of Indianapolis. Well, let's get Indianapolis, 2 other places. The Red Key Tavern, that was recommended to me by somebody that I worked with in my last corporate job. So even while I was working that full-time job, I was doing Retro Roadmap, and Dana Cutler, I don't know, I hope you're doing well. We haven't talked in about 3 years or so, but she recommended the Red Key Tavern in Indianapolis. It's been open since 1933. Looks like a total cool, old school, like neighborhood bar with a lot of the vintage decor still left in there. And if I was going to go have a beer or whatnot, that's a place I would totally go. If I wanted to get fancy, there's a place you can eat in Indianapolis called the St. Elmo's Steakhouse. And it was recommended to me by somebody who knew that I watched Mad Men, and they said it was like kind of that Mad Men era. Now, here's the crazy thing. Not to remind us all that time is moving fast, but like Mad Men which is a thing about, it was in the late 50s, early 60s. Mad Men was like 5 years ago already. So it ended 5 years ago. So even telling somebody something is Mad Men, kind of a throwback to 5 years ago. In any case, St. Elmo's Steakhouse in Indianapolis is great for, it's the oldest Indianapolis steakhouse in its original location. They are famous for their cocktail lounge, cocktail sauce, steaks, obviously. And I wonder, do they cook the steaks over St. Elmo's fire? Oh my God, I'm funny. I am on the Muppet Show in my head. Waka waka. Anyhow, St. Elmo's Steakhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. Great place to go to. I don't want to get that song in your head, so disregard that, because we're going to talk about the Brokaw Theater, okay? And we're hopping around a bit in the state of Indiana today. So now we're in a place called Angola. Brian Farr, I don't know if you're watching, but regardless, thank you for sending this to me, because this was neat. He knew I was doing this episode, and he snapped a picture of the Brokaw Theater in Angola. It opened in 1931, and it has been renovated, which we all love to see, instead of going away. And it was opened in 1931, renovated in 2014, keeping as many Art Deco elements as possible. Now they have 2 screens, and they also offer like food and wine, which is kind of neat and silly to do if you went to the movies and you have a drink. We can do that here at the Colonial in Phoenixville. They also offer non-GMO popcorn, and the neat thing is that the popcorn is locally grown in Topeka, Indiana. So locally grown popcorn, I think that's kind of awesome. So that's the Brokaw Theater in Angola. As again, shout out to Brian Farr for the recommendation. And as a reminder to anybody who's in the comment section right now, if you have a favorite place in Indiana that you want people to know about, and you're not sure if I'm going to mention it or not, because there are a bunch of them, and I'm probably, it is conceivable that I'm missing somebody's happy place. Feel free to put your Indiana comments or faves in the comment section, not only so the folks who we're all hanging out today can see them, but also so when this is archived on Facebook on the videos tab, for people who can't tune in this early in the day, they can also get your recommendations. Sorry, got distracted for a second. But yes, this is audience part. So I give you my ideas, you give me mine, we share all about them. So here's a really cool place that I had bookmarked from the, this is kind of where I get everything. I get things from all over. I'm inspired by so many things. And this was from Preservation Magazine, from the National, National Historic Preservation. Oh, I'm blanking on it. In any case, the Century of Progress houses, 1933 Chicago World's Fair, had the Century of Progress homes, and they're on Lakefront Drive in Michigan City, Indiana. Now, this is so cool. So picture it. Sicily. Picture it. World Fair, 1933. They've got all sorts of different things you can build houses from that maybe houses have never been built from before. Stucco and aluminum and things like that. And they build all these buildings, these homes, to showcase these different materials, right? World's Fair, that's what you do. You showcase all the good stuff that's happening, okay? So the Century of Progress houses were built in 1933 for the Chicago World's Fair. Picture it, 1933, Chicago World's Fair. And they were brought by barge to this location across the lake to entice buyers to this new resort community on the Indiana lakefront. While they did years, you'll always hear this arc of like, it started out really cool, and then it got really sad. And then when I'm telling you about it, ideally, it's because it's back on the upswing and kind of awesome. So what the Indiana Landmarks decided to do is they decided to, they're part of the National Park Service. Don't worry, there's not going to be a quiz. But people now sublease, people live in these houses, right? and they are able to live there because they are fixing up the homes, and then they have annual tours, so you can go and you can walk into these 1933 Chicago World's Fair homes. I believe there's 5 of them. I don't know why I only have 4 of them listed, but there's the Florida Tropical House, which, as you can imagine, I would be all into. There's the Armco Faro House, the House of Tomorrow, and there's even one that's a cypress log cabin. So if you are an architecture geek like I am, or you just want to see some interesting things on the beautiful lakefront there in Indiana, right over there, then those are the Chicago World's Fair Century Progress homes. Up in that northern area too, in the Elkhart, or almost in the Elkhart Museum, is the RVMHHOF. Now, if you're an acronym person, like I tend to be when I'm writing shorthand, you may know what that is, but for those who don't, the RVMHHOV is the Recreational Vehicle Motorhome Hall of Fame. Okay? That's wicked interesting to me because I love old vintage trailers and stuff. And they have some really cool stuff that you can go look at, including all sorts of old school recreational vehicles, motorhomes, vintage camper trailers, and they have the first motorhome ever made by Fleetwood, photos, memorabilia reaching back to the 1920s and 30s. So if you are a vintage travel geek and you love modes of vintage travel like that, the RVMHHOF in Elkhart, Indiana is for you, because it's for me, okay? Here's another fun place. Susan Nichols is so great when she gives me recommendations, and even if I'm not doing these things, like what I do is I try my best to put people's names in the comments on my map so I can give them a shout out. So in 2015, Susan hepped me to this place in Goshen, Indiana. Goshen, Indiana has the Olympia Candy Kitchen. They've been open since 1912, so over 100 years old. Opened by Greek immigrants, and it's a wonderful like candy kitchen, but they also do like sandwiches, burgers and fries, things like that. Actually, I don't think they do fries. I think they may only have chips. Sometimes places don't have fries because they don't have a fryer, but they'll give you chips. And you can get handmade candies, ice cream sundaes, and you can actually get sarsaparilla. Remember that song? I feel like Snoopy. Da da da, would you like to take a walk? Da da da, do you think it's gonna rain? Da da da, would you like a sarsaparilla? That's me. I'm gonna be on vaudeville soon enough. But that's the Olympia Candy Kitchen in Goshen, right? It's in Goshen, by Goshen. I only found out about this place today because it's got a vintage diner attached to it. It's called the South Side Soda Shop, for the alliteration fans like I am. And it has been open for decades as a building that was a grocery store, and then it was made into a restaurant. And then in 1980s, I believe it was, they added an actual vintage diner to the side of it. Now, I was not able to confirm who made the diner or what year. So if I have any of my diner fans in the comments or who watch later, please feel free to chime in and tell me who made it and when, because I thought that was very interesting. They have won all sorts of awards for their food. They were visited by the diners, drive-ins, and Guy Fieri. That's his name, right? So he went there and said how cool the place was, so that's cool. But that's the South Side Soda Shop in Goshen, Indiana. Moving right along to one of the first places, and this is, I don't think he's watching, but I'm going to give a shout out to my pal Rob, who is, he's got family in Indiana, I think in the Fort Wayne section, and I have quite a few places. I've got like 2 or 3 or 4 places from Fort Wayne that I'm, and I was joking with myself that I wrote about this, and since he's not on here right now, I think I was going to call him a Fort Wayniac, because, you know, I'm pretty much, like, my humor is back in vaudeville, Broadway, you know, Broadway, don't go for booze and drugs. Sorry, channeling my inner Valley of the Dolls. but I ramble. So the first place I want to tell you about in Fort Wayne, Indiana is Cindy's Diner. Now, Cindy's Diner is a diner in the true sense of the word. And what I mean by that is that it's not just a small restaurant with counter service, though we love those, but a diner to me is a diner building type where it is built in a, oh, I could actually show you this thing right here. It is built in a factory, you know? So like I have this, right? This is a little ceramic diner, but pretend this is a diner, right? You build it in a factory, put it on a train, actually it'll go this way, and it goes choo choo choo, and it's wide enough that it can go down the train rails, and then you park your diner on a plot of land. So to me, authentic diners are those kinds of ones. There are also ones that are storefronts and luncheonettes and stuff. Cindy's Diner doesn't look like this one. I only picked that up because it happens to live on my desk. But Cindy's Diner was built in 1954 by the Valentine Diner Company. It is the double-length chef model for those keeping score. And I want to say I have seen vintage Valentine diners, and that could be a fun thing, where you're on vacation and you're like, let's go find all the Valentine diners in the U.S. I'm pretty sure there's one in the Hershey, PA Auto Museum, and I'm pretty darn sure that there is one at the Shady Dell Campground in Arizona, Bisbee, Arizona. Sorry, this is what happens when I rely on this and not on this. But Bisbee, Arizona, that's also the place that has all the vintage campers you can stay in, but those are Valentine diners. So Cindy's is a double wide, maybe 1954. It's been famous, and it actually recently moved, within the past 10 years or so, moved to a new location in town. So that's Cindy's Diner in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The Embassy Theater in Fort Wayne. Beautiful, gorgeous place, 1928, open, vaudeville, I would have fit right in, music, and now mainly Wanely, as I wrote, live shows and movies, right? So there are two cool things that are in the Embassy Theater, not just the fact that the diner, the theater itself looks absolutely gorgeous, but it's got a grand pipe organ in it, and you know how I love to hear that, you know, it just takes you back when you hear the organ playing before the movie. And this one has one that, you know, it rises from the pit and plays before the movies, you know. It's so cool, such a throwback thing. I also have a thing. Now, this is for the true people who love old technology like I do. There's a thing that I had never heard of called the Brenograph. So the Brenograph was kind of a pre-movie type thing, or it happened around the same time, like a magic lantern. And basically what they would have is these glass slides that would then be projected, and it would do things like pretend the airplanes were flying or clouds were moving. Well, they have an historic Brenograph in the Embassy Theater in Fort Wayne, and they've got a whole bunch of those glass slides, so you can check that out while you're there too. Pardon me, I have an itchy nose. I think that means money's coming my way, right? That's what I think. So the Embassy in Fort Wayne looks like a fab place to go. If you want to get a little quick bite to eat, two places, Burgers and Dogs. So we got burgers. I'll do burgers first, even though I was going to do dogs first. So burgers, Powers Hamburger Restaurant in Fort Wayne. Cute little Art Deco place. Kind of slightly reminiscent-esque of like a White Tower. And they do that classic kind of sliders slathered in onions. Locals call it, actually, they call those, instead of burgers with onions, they call it onion burgers with meat because of the proportion of onions. So if it's anything like the White Manna and Hackensack, which it has been, you know, there's similarities to that, I recommend leaving your coat in the car. Because if you sit there at their tiny little counter and get the stuff made, because it's right there, you might end up kind of smelling like onions, you know? You don't mean to, but it happens. So that's Powers Hamburger Restaurant. It's open since 1940. Or if you want to do hot dogs or coney dogs, you know how these coney dogs, they keep on coming up, and that's because it's like an indigenous dolled up hot dog. A lot of Greek places. But Fort Wayne's famous Coney Island has theirs, and they were established in 1914. So again, a place that's over 100 years old and is still open selling hot dogs. They claim to be, and I'm not gonna get into whether they're right or not because I didn't do the research, but they say that they are the oldest coney stand in America. So if you want to be one of those people that says no, they're not, or yes, they are, have at it. They have steamed and they have oven baked beans too. I like baked beans. I do good ones. Ooh, like those butter beans at the Squeeze Inn up in Sunbury. Ooh, those were good. Those were wicked good. So yeah, you get burgers and dogs. So that's Fort Wayne. Couple of fun things you can do while you're in Fort Wayne. But here, now this is if I had a hat, I would be suddenly putting on my leopard skin, but pillbox, but something even more sleek, because this is the mid-mod map portion of the show. It just happens to be. And this is because I'm going to talk about Columbus, Indiana. So Columbus, Indiana is kind of a modernist architecture kind of haven. They say they've got dozens of structures by iconic modernist architects, more than 60 civic buildings by I.M. Pei, Arrow, and Elliott, Robert Venturi, a whole bunch of others. And if you happen to be an architecture person or interested in that kind of history, Columbus is the thing for you. Here's the thing I would recommend, right? And this is how I found out about it. God, my nose. I guess I should stop that. Like if I was on real TV, I'd probably just have to put up with my itchy nose, huh? Well, good thing I'm not on real TV right now, huh? So anyhow, there is a movie. I think it's literally called Columbus or Columbus, Indiana. And there is a narrative. It's a really nice story that goes on. But behind the scenes, it's all architectural places are woven into it. I want to say it only came out a few years ago. So like 2017 perhaps. So look for that movie and see some of these buildings. And if that seems to like tickle some sort of thing, not in your nose, but in your heart, then definitely check that out and maybe go to Columbus, Indiana. Now, if that's too mod for you, like it's just not your thing, like there's certain eras of architecture and stuff that I'm like, meh, just doesn't speak to me. No harm, no foul. And I see it, Jamie. Yay! In any case, in Columbus, Indiana, if that's not your jam, let's go wicked old school. Back to 1900, right? Again, over 100 years old, 120 years old, to Zaccaro's Ice Cream Parlor. So this is your classic ice cream parlor with stained glass and carved oak. They serve lunches. They serve something called the Gom sandwich, which is interesting. Homemade ice cream, candy shop, that kind of vintage. They also have that in Columbus. So not only do they have the mid-mod map type, but they also have the, retro road map. And earlier this week, I had asked people to think of, or actually end of last week, I asked people to make up a list of the 10 places you want, like 10 places you want to go to once things are lifted. And I decided that Columbus, Indiana is on my list just by doing this research. Now, I have it on my list. Okay, this is awesome. Jamie, I'm trying to look at the comments right here, but I bet all of you can read it a lot better than I do. But yes, the Art Craft Theater in Franklin. I have you on here, but Art Deco Theater, built in 1920. That. Crap, where did I put it? So that's on my thing right here. So I'm so glad you chimed into that. Yes, Franklin, Indiana. And I don't know if it was you or somebody a while back helped me to this little Art Deco theater, and I just love that. So people, the Art Craft Theater in Franklin, Indiana is the place to go. I had it on my list. I must have missed a stop. There we go, Elkhart. Anyhow, thank you, Jamie, so much for chiming in for that, okay? And that's what I love what people do. So let's go on to a couple of different things. Now, here is a total. So as I have mentioned in previous episodes, I love to stay in unusual hotels and motels and places like that if I have the opportunity. Now, sometimes when you're traveling, there's nothing but your standard boring beige block whatevers. But if you have an opportunity to stay in a historic hotel or an historic hotel, I always love to have that option. So there was one that was actually on my list, and mainly because I think I saw it on Historic Hotels of America. Don't worry, they're not paying me here. I'm just saying this because I love them. Though if they did want to pay me, it would be fine. But here's a cool thing. So there's a place called the French Lick Springs Hotel in the West Baden Springs Hotel. Both wonderful historic structures. So they're part of a resort casino now called the French Lick Resort Casino. And check this out. So I'm like, French Lick? Isn't that where Larry Bird is from? Now, have you ever heard Maud Betty mention anything vaguely like sporty at all, except for, you know, duck pin bowling? But somehow, and yeah, I Googled it because I was like, where did that come from? And yeah, Larry Bird, who was on the Boston Celtics, is from French Lick, Indiana. I had no idea because that's not my jam, but it's funny how little things get stuck in your head. So anyhow, just shows to go how your mind goes. So opened in 1902, these old-fashioned hotels, actually, the one thing that I love about both of them, it has a big kind of atrium, an arched atrium you can walk through. And it's got this wonderful ceiling. If I had, like, right here on my screen, if I was able to show pictures, maybe I should figure out how to do that. I don't know. Technology. You'd see a lovely picture of that. But that's in West Baden, right near French Lick. And you'll always remember that because of Larry Bird. Oh, here's a place that I wonder who's from Indiana. There's a place called Santa Claus, Indiana. Right? I wonder who's from Santa Claus, Indiana. Well, he's not really. But the neat thing about Santa Claus, Indiana is that they get a lot of postcards and notes from little kids sent to Santa Claus. And they have volunteers at the post office who don't write the letters. They pass them on to Santa, and the kids get a response from Santa. So I just thought that was so adorable. Also, it is not allegedly, it's supposed to be famous for the first theme park in the U.S. that was called something, Santa Claus Land, I forget. This is bad, but yeah. But there's also a place called Santa's Candy Castle, world's oldest Santa Claus statue. So if you're into that, I know there's a few of those like North Pole places, and like kiddie lands and stuff like that. Santa Claus, Indiana. You can go there. Before I forget about it, there are a couple of places that I just want to mention real quick that have some fun, just like burgery type places to go to. One is Hinkle's Sandwich Shop. Hinkle's is in downtown Madison. And who doesn't love a downtown? Angela, thank you. Holiday World. Thank you for getting my back there, or my front, as it were. Because I totally blanked on that name. So yes, it's now Holiday World is like a regular, you know, theme park. But back in the day, having a theme, like the Santa Claus theme, was a thing. So thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. Hinkle's Sandwich Shop in downtown Madison. It's been open since 1933, and they're famous for their Hinkle burger. Go figure. Griffith and Marianne Buckner actually wrote me and recommended this place. And when I looked at it, Trey Adorable. It's got a wonderful neon sign. Hinkle burgers are like those classic little sliders. And I'll be honest, I love the sliders because sometimes when I see those burgers that are too big, it's like too much food. I want to be able to have a little something here, a little something there, a little something there. When you're on the road, you know, you want to have little snacks all along the road. You don't want to fill up on one giant burger and then not be able to have a hot fudge sundae 2 minutes later. At least that's how I am. So Hinkle's Sandwich Shop in downtown Madison. And then West Lafayette, Indiana has the last iconic here's an interesting thing. Triple X or Triple XXX. Not sure how you pronounce it. I would say Triple X. Thirst Station. It's a root beer stand, and it used to be a chain. I think it started in Texas. This one has been here since 1929, and it's the last remaining one. You can probably tell it's a root beer stand because if you've ever seen that kind of thing where it's like root beer stands always tend to be orange and brown, and then often have like hot dogs and onion rings and things like that. But Triple X at West Lafayette, and get yourself a root beer. I think that's what they do on the traffic and weather. They do like this. All right, Santa Claus. Anderson, Indiana. No, that's not it. The Lemon Drop Inn. The Lemon Drop is the oldest restaurant in Anderson. It's adorable looking green and yellow place. Little neon sign. I'm always a sucker for that, people. So if you want to get on the good side, restore your neon or have a neon sign. They've got painted red, cute little painted. As you can see, I like green and yellow. So I was a sucker for the Lemon Drop. I've got booths and L-shaped counter. I'm also at L-shaped counter. I'm just a counter lover, you know, because to me, there's always room for you there. Now, nowadays, we may need to sit a couple of seats apart, but that's okay. There's room for all of us. Ooh, McCord's Candy Shop. See, I don't even know about that. So thank you, Angela, for mentioning that too. I will get myself on, I will add that to my map, and everybody add that to your map too. So that's the lemon drop. Now here's a neat thing. So I talked about a Valentine diner, right? That was Cindy's Diner in Fort Wayne. I talked about a mystery diner at the Soda Shop, and now I'm going to talk about a Mountain View diner. Now, those of you who know diners know that Mountain Views are diners that were built in New Jersey. The Oasis Diner in Plainfield is a Mountain View diner that was shipped from New Jersey all the way out to Indiana in 1954. Wait, why did I do that when I have this diner here? It was a diner. Let me do take two. It's a diner that was shipped all the way out to Indiana in 1954. And then they sat it down someplace, and then it sat there for years, right? But then somebody wanted the land. But the neat thing about diners is, since you ship them there with a little bit of effort, but not too much, you can pick them up, and you can move them, and you can plop them somewhere else. And that's what happened to the Oasis Diner in Plainfield. It had been open since 1954, and then in 2014, it was moved to its new location. It's been restored back to its original appearance. Looks adorable. They also have outdoor seating outside, which is kind of neat. And here's an interesting thing. This is when I started getting into that whole, like, falling down that fun rabbit hole of, ooh, I've never heard of that before. Let me find out more about that. And the interwebs are a perfect place for that. So in the description of the Oasis Diner in Plainfield, they mentioned, kind of off the cuff, that the diner is on the historic National Road and is the only diner on the National Road in Indiana, and is one of less than 5 historical diners to remain on Route 40 from Cumberland, Maryland to Vandalia, Illinois, right? So I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this National Road? Like, piquing of my interest. So googly googs, and I find out that the historic National Road was the nation's first federally funded interstate highway. It opened like in the early 1800s. It goes from, did I write this down here? It's 824 miles, and it goes from Maryland through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. So if you've never been on one of those kind of iconic road trips, and you want to do Route 66, but that may be too long for you, why not do the National Road? It's pretty much, it looks like it parallels, or it's often in Route 40. Have you ever been on Route 40 in any one of those states? I have, but I didn't know it was this National Road, and now I'm so excited to go see not only what else is on this National Road, but also because the Oasis Diner in Plainfield mentioned that it's one of less than 5, so that maybe 4, maybe 3, less than 5 diners on the whole. I want to find out what those other diners are. And that's the neat thing about travel, and even just researching travel, is you discover things that you become interested in never have known about had you not started to, figure out what interests you and kind of get engaged about wanting to do it. So thank you, Oasis Oasis Diner in Plainfield, Indiana, for that little earworm or whatever. The other one that came up was the National Automotive and Truck Museum. Okay, so it sounds like pretty interesting, like an auto museum. Probably see some old cars and stuff like that. Like, I'm totally into that to a certain extent. I've got a cool book about that. I always forget to pull out these things, but there's a really good book that a friend of mine wrote. I'm gonna have to put it in the comments, because I always forget names when I'm doing this. As I said, unscripted, except for the scribs here. But anyhow, the National Automotive and Truck Museum in Auburn, Indiana, is a bunch of cars, stuff like that. Home of the Future Liner 10. So do you know what a Future Liner is? I didn't know until I started researching this. It was one of 12 large dual front wheel display vehicles that crisscrossed the country in the early 1950s as part of General Motors' promotion called the Parade of Progress. Now, the Parade of Progress had been going on since the 1950s, and it's this like oversized, like silver Art Deco red bus thing that the side opens up and they can show you stuff. And I was thinking, crap, I've seen one of those before. And sure enough, I had seen one. If anybody follows me on Instagram, it's from a while back. I'll have to see when I posted it. But when Retro Roadhouse and I were out in Springfield, Mass at the Big E, the Eastern States Exposition, we saw one of these really cool, just mammoth vehicles in the parade that they had. And I was fascinated. And that's the one that's owned by the Peter Pan bus company out in Western Mass. I think they're based in Western Mass. But anyhow, then it got me to think, all right, well, this is Future Liner 10, and there are 12 of those. There's one more for Peter Pan. Like, whatever happened to the other ones? So again, another rabbit hole to get lost in and discover some things. So I hope some of these places that I'm telling you about have piqued your interest. And while I, don't have them in a book yet, I hope the ones that really like stick with you, you might have scribbled some notes and you can research them on your own and maybe make those places things you want to check out when you are traveling through Indiana. I have a few more places to go. And yes, that was my notes on the art craft. I swear I did have it. I wasn't totally making it up. It's right there. I just had forgotten to put the town. So I was totally going to do that. But thank you so much for putting those in the comments anyway, because I love when that happens. Okay, a few more interesting things. I'm going to talk about a carousel, a Denzel Carousel in Riverside Park in Logansport, Indiana, because I love old school carousels. And here's a neat one too. So the Denzel Carousel, old classic hand-carved carousel. It's got a menagerie, so hopefully you're learning something about this. So carousels, when they just have the horses, and they're just a carousel. But when you have different animals around in the carousel, that's called a menagerie. And this one is a Denzel Carousel at Riverside Park in Logansport, Indiana from 1902. It's been there since 1950, pardon me. The Denzel old carousel, been there since 1950. 33 horses, 3 giraffes, 3 goats, 3 deer, 1 lion, 1 tiger, 1 bear. Oh my, no, I made that up because I think I'm funny. 1 lion, 1 tiger, 3 chariots, and places where you can catch the golden ring. Have you ever done that? Have you ever been on one of those things where you can grab for the golden ring and you might get the golden ring, and then if you get the golden ring, you get a free ride or something? I love that cool stuff. The the flying horses in Vineyard. I have a picture of my mother when she was just out of college, and she's sitting on one of those old carved horses where it says "Grab the golden ring." I just love that stuff. So anyhow, that's in Riverside Park, Logansport, Indiana, and they've got a nice little carousel, and they also have a little historic kind of miniature train you can ride too if you're into that kind of thing. So they've got that. So I haven't here's a funny thing, I've barely mentioned any foods in Indiana. And I'm going to mention some, but all of a sudden I got distracted by the comments because, oh my gosh, I had no idea. Angela, you are making my day. Thank you. Thank you so much, because I had no idea that Peru, Indiana was the home to Cole Porter, and they have a festival about him every June. Well, next year. I love Gerald sings the Cole Porter songbook. Not a stinker on the album. I love Cole Porter. So thank you, Angela. I did not know about that, but genuinely, that is making my day. Thank you for mentioning that. That sounds awesome. All right, Peru, Indiana. I'm writing that down on my list because that piqued my interest. Could you tell how I lit up? So, crap, where was I? Oh, I was talking about food. You can tell I was so distracted by Cole Porter. Night and day, you are the one. Because I wasn't even talking about food. So here's a thing that looks absolutely delicious to me. Sugar cream pie. Now, I love sugar, I love cream, I love pie. So you got me on all of those. It's like a custard pie with cinnamon on top. And it has been around since like forever. It's something that you're kind of been known for in Indiana. It was a place called Nick's Kitchen. Actually, Nick's Kitchen Inn since 1908. And they are, the thing that they had made, you can get this pie in a lot of places, but the thing that Nick's mentioned that had me like over the moon was the fact that at Nick's you can get a pie flight. Now, you know how hard it is to decide what dessert to get because you can usually only get one? Can you imagine if you went to a place like Nick's, get a little tiny slice of 3 different pies? I just love that. So that is the Hoosier Sugar Cream Pie. Nick's Kitchen has it, though I guess other people too. And breaded pork tenderloin sandwiches. They're a thing. I saw them on all sorts of menus. If that's something you're into, yeah, you could totally get that. Now, I might as well start talking about a few more things here. Since I'm talking about foods I love, and I know they're not indigenous to Indiana, but they have this fabulous thing. Oh my God, I just totally ruined my hair. Sorry. I was trying to make it better, made it worse. Woo. There we go. Gonna have to stop my dancing afterwards. Pierogi Fest. Now, I know there's a lot of Pierogi Fests around the world. Not enough, if you ask me, because I love the pierogs. So good. It's like a carbohydrate wrapped in a carbohydrate, covered with butter, and then you put some onions on there like you pretend you're eating a vegetable. Oh, talk about comfort food, and I'm not even Polish. I love these. Whiting, Indiana, practically in Illinois, like a stone's throw, right? They have a Pierogi Fest in July, usually for years. Now this year, much like the Cole Porter thing, a whole bunch of nothing is happening this summer for all of us, except for preparing to spend our money where our hearts are as soon as we are able to safely get there. So much like the Cole Porter festival that was mentioned up thread, the Pierogi Fest has already been set for 2021. So July 23 to 25 in Whiting, Illinois is the Pierogi Fest. Now, the thing that I kind of love about this is that it reminds me of a couple of fests that have such a neat approach to them. And I think of 2 of them here on the East Coast. And I love the fact that my friend Lisa Aussie chimed in as if on cue, because the place I was going to rave about, the fest I was going to talk about, is Hun Fest in Baltimore. That's where they celebrate the ladies, the Huns, the old ladies who keep everything together, and they wear, you know, the curlers in their hair. And now that I think about it, Lisa, I think you may have been the one to tell me about the Whiting, Illinois Pierogi Fest, because they also celebrate the women of that area called the Bushas. Bushas are like the little grandmothers, and they know how to make the pierogies. And so people are going to walk around. They dress up like at Hunfest. You dress up like a Hun. I have done it. You know, beehive hair doing the whole thing. And the Bushas walk around the Whiting Pierogi Fest, and they are dressed in house coats, in stockings, and they give you lipstick as a souvenir. And that just is so much fun to me, because you need to take what you have and make the most of it. So I just love that. They also have Mr. Pierogi, who walks around looking like a Mr. Pierogi, and they actually have the Pierogettes, which are kind of like a riff on the Rockettes. And I think even at Hunfest they had something like that. But I love that notion of taking something and just having fun with it and celebrating what might have been overlooked. Like Hunfest, like here in Phoenixville where we have Blobfest, where we celebrate the movie The Blob, you know. So think about the things that where you live might be able to kind of riff on and have a good time with. I know here in PA, Dillsburg, like they have a pickle that they lower on New Year's Eve, you know. Any of those things that make you, you know, make you unique, celebrate them. So thank you, Lisa Aussie. I believe you're the one who gave me that clue for the Pierogi Fest in Whiting, Illinois, and I cannot wait, Whiting, Indiana, and I cannot wait to go there. Somebody mentioned, I think Susan, you mentioned up thread, where was Nick's with the pie? And Nick's is in, oh crap, I didn't write it down because I found about it on a website. I will put it in the comments, and since it's almost time to get going here, it will be in the comments momentarily. So I apologize for that oversight. You know, this is a one-woman, well, with my tech support here, but I just do this every week for the love. And yeah, so there we are. That was Indiana. Not Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana, Gary, which is where the Jackson 5 were born. So thank you so much for showing up. Couple of things for next week. So I've decided that I am going to go to a once a week schedule for the Retro Roadmap Facebook Lives. I realized this week when I took Tuesday off as a point of reflection how aggressive it is for me to do all this research in such a short amount of time, because I'm also, just so everybody knows, I'm in the midst of writing a book proposal that I am sending out, not I'm wanting to send out, I'm sending out to agents and publishers for my Just Drive Your Life book, because I think if there's any time any of us need to be reminded of how to figure out what's important and actionable, easy ways to remind yourself how to drive to the places you want to go to and get there. I really have had this idea in my head for a really long time, and now is the time, because it has helped me so much. And this is, I don't mean to be in an infomercial, but it has helped me so much to do so many things. I mean, 5 books, being on TV, being being asked to be presenting in front of hundreds of people, like, this never would have happened had I not figured out how to drive my own life. And I don't want to keep it to myself. I want to share it with the world. And I figure the best way I can do that is to get it to a major publisher, have it, published and available to anybody in any state, and we'll see what happens. I tell you all that because I realized how much more work I am getting done on that important project simply by spreading out the Retro Roadmap Facebook Lives to 1 time a week. So starting next week, I will change it on Facebook, but I am going to just do it on Thursdays. I think Thursdays are good because I like having something to look forward to at the end of the week. So to me, this is something, we all need something in the future to look forward to. Am I right? And so I think Thursdays at this time will be the new time. Tuesdays, I promise I will use that time for good in writing my proposal, in writing my book, in getting it out into the world. But I don't want to, not show up, but I also need to honor the fact that it's important for me to get this out of me. Like if it wasn't something that I didn't feel could help the world, you, the planet, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I'm writing my novel. But this is good stuff, people, and it's not difficult. This is the thing, it's not difficult. You just have to know, you just have to remind yourself, because here's like a catchphrase I'm working on, like, if you know how to drive, you know how to drive your life. There's pretty much the same principles. Now, this is not me getting onto an infomercial. I'm just trying to share with you my excitement and my urgency of getting that book out, while also showing up every week and telling you all about diners and, duck pin bowling and tacky souvenirs. So I will still do this every Thursday at 3 o'clock starting next week, but it will just be once a week, okay? So just to let you know that, next week will be Illinois. So I am really excited about that because there's a lot of stuff. Chicago, there's even a song about it. Chicago, that toddling town. Illinois right here. And then maybe we'll go back. So I know Susan wanted me to do Alabama, so maybe Alabama will be the next one down there too. So here I go. Thank you so much for tuning in to the 23rd, I believe, episode of Retro Roadmap Facebook Live. I look forward to seeing you next week on Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern, where we will talk about Illinois. I also look forward to writing my book, so thank you very much for all the good wishes on that one. And thank you all so much for coming on the bus with me today. This is great. And yeah, Roberta, I know, huh? It's my new look because I can't get to Phil. What can I do? Oh, now I'm talking like an old Jewish guy. I think it's happening to all of us. So anyhow, I'll see you next week, and just drive your life.